So let's be frank, you're probably not planning to have a baby in Spain. If you are, congratulations, and I hope it goes really well, and I hope this video is helpful. But if you're not, why would you watch a video about having a baby in Spain, about our experience? Well, I think when you have a baby in a country, you learn a lot about the culture, about things that have nothing to do with babies. What do you think, Yoly? Did you learn anything about Spanish culture by having a baby?
Well, more than learning, I confirmed a few things that I suspected already.
So today we're going to share with you our experience of having Lucia, our daughter in Spain, who's now 9 months today. And failing that, you're going to get a look around the Campo del Moro, which is this probably least visited park in Madrid, and it has peacocks, which we're
I
going to
can
try
hear.
and find.
I can hear them. Yeah.
I can't hear them.
Let's find them.
We're looking for peacocks.
So in Spain, there is a universal public health system that we pay for by taxes. So you actually don't pay for each service that you get, which means that having a baby is free. So what's included? All the gynecologist appointments and scans, at least 3 and more if needed, of course. The midwife will follow the process. You will get also blood tests, at least 3 that I can recall. And of course, labor in hospital, and then the couple of days or 3 days that you spend afterwards. Then the midwife will also want to see you after giving birth. And of course, the pediatrician comes in the minute the baby is born.
And so how would you say the public system was overall? How was your experience?
It was great, it was excellent. Great professionals, the midwives were amazing, although a little bit more better tips about breastfeeding would be good actually.
But a lot of people in Spain use the private system sort of in addition to the public system. The public system is perfectly great and fine, and we were very happy with everything. But if you want like a second opinion on something, or you want maybe an extra service, then the private system is always there. So we did use the private system twice. It took us a little bit longer to conceive than we expected, as I believe sometimes happens. And so we wanted to just get, everything checked down there. Checked out fine. Lucia's living proof of that. Obviously, the wait for sort of fertility treatments and things like that is quite a long wait in the public system. And then we got a couple of extra scans in the private system, which you can do. And those were kind of preferences, so we did those. What was the difference between public and private system? Well, yeah, the private system, the rooms look maybe a little bit more like a hotel. There's sort of pot plants in the waiting room and the chairs are comfier. But at its core, I would say the service was great in both. The public looks a little more rough around the edges, but the doctors were great, and the doctors in the private were great. In fact, a lot of doctors in Spain work in both the public and the private system. So whichever you go with, you're getting the same doctor sometimes. So, there you go.
So jamón and wine are very important aspects of life in Spain. So the result of your toxoplasmosis test is kind of a big deal. If you have had toxoplasmosis, it means that you can eat ham. So it's actually good news. It's something that you celebrate because we eat so much of the stuff, right?
So it's like a good news if you've had an illness, right? Which people get it from pets or farm animals.
Yeah. So if you've gone, say, a lot to El Pueblo when you were a kid, for example, you probably had it. So yeah, so that's good news.
I got a lot of messages on Instagram when Yoly was pregnant with people wondering what was the attitude towards drinking alcohol in Spain, or pregnant women drinking alcohol in Spain. And I think there was a bit of a presumption I got a sense of in some of the messages that here pregnant women are a little more liberal with drinking wine, not like getting drunk and stuff. Yeah, there might be a bit of a stereotype or a cliche
I
or
think
a myth,
so, yeah.
Right?
You might find the odd person that has like a glass of wine every, I don't know, a couple of weeks or something, but certainly not common, I wouldn't think.
And there is a really big culture here of pregnant women, or a lot of people, drinking sin alcohol beer. So cerveza sin alcohol. So, often when we were filming our videos, when Yoly was pregnant, she'd often have a beer in front of her, but obviously it was a zero.
Non-alcoholic, yeah.
Non-alcoholic. And so you'll see, it's actually advertisements. I remember seeing, pregnant woman knocking back a beer, but of course it was sin alcohol. So that is a big thing.
So So in Madrid, you can choose the hospital in which you're going to give birth. I chose Torrejón because they're more respecting of women's rights. They will explain things to you, and they're kind of looking for consent and less intervention in general. And so the moment of truth came. We just called an Uber, got the car seat, and jumped on the Uber. Got to the hospital, and they were like, "No, you're not in labor yet." So we got sent home, which is like, oh. And then, of course, the contractions came back strong, and finally we left again, called another Uber, and got there, and they were like, maybe you're gonna get sent home again. We don't have a room. And I'm like, you have to be kidding. I'm staying, like, can't you see me? So once admitted to the room, I actually asked for the epidural. It's very, very common here in Spain. 80% of women ask for it. And I tell you what, it's pretty fantastic. And then, of course, you're introduced to your midwives that are going to be taking care of you, and they were fantastic. I mean, what can I say? And it went, pretty well. And then
You had your own room?
Oh, yeah, of course, I had my own room. And then this beautiful girl came out.
After that, after the birth, that wonderful moment, they wheeled Yoly into this room where we were for 48 hours. We just kind of stayed there bonding with Lucia. Now, traditionally in Spain, that's a moment where all the family members pile into that room to come and see you. But because of COVID, they weren't allowed. Family members weren't allowed, which actually was quite nice because it gives you some time to really bond with your baby without having a lot of people. Obviously, you love your family, but they can come in a couple of days.
So you have 8 days to register your child's name. We thought we were so very original when we chose Lucia as a name for our child, but turns out it was the most popular name in 2020 and actually several years back as well.
And the most popular name in Spain for a girl, and in Madrid as well. So
yeah.
The least original name. But there was one area that we were original, and that was that we flipped Lucia's surnames. As you may or may not know, in Spain, people have 2 surnames. So Yolanda Martín Mendieta. So Martín is her father's first surname, and Mendieta is her mother's first surname. And so traditionally, it was always the father's first surname first and the mother's first surname after that. But a few years ago, there was a law change that effectively took away any presumption of mother or father's surname coming first. And so you can choose, you do have to choose in which order you do it. And actually, we did flip it. So traditionally, it would have been Lucia Blick Martín, but we flipped it and we did Martín Blick.
Yeah.
Why? Because we figured it would look better on a book jacket when she becomes a famous writer. No pressure, that's a joke. Don't flame me in the comments.
Yeah, and just because too, right?
Oh, and just because, yeah, of course. And it sounds better as well, right? It just kind of goes off.
It flows beautifully.
It flows.
Lucia Martín Blick, ole.
Interestingly though, we are very unique in that choice. So although families have freedom of choice now, only 0.5% of children are named with the mother's first surname first in that order. So we're original in something, right?
Yeah, there you go. By law, parents get 16 weeks maternity/paternity leave. That means that they get 100% of their salary. So right now, actually, there is in Parliament a law that might be passed that would mean that each parent gets 6 months maternity/paternity leave. And also, if you're a single parent, then you would get a whole year. So this 6-month period will be more in line with the breastfeeding recommendations globally, which is 6 months of breastfeeding. So hopefully it'll get passed.
So paternity leave has come a long way in Spain over the last 15 years. So 15 years ago, fathers in Spain got 2 days, and nowadays we get these full 16 weeks. It's actually come a long way in the last 3 years. So 3 years ago, fathers got 5 weeks, I believe it was, and it's kept growing over the years. In fact, only in 2021, at the start of last year, it went from 12 weeks to 16 weeks. So I feel very grateful that Lucia was born literally in 2021 and not 2020, because I got a whole extra month. So now that we've both finished our paid parental leave, how do we structure our time? Well, I'm working full-time on Spain Revealed, on the videos, Move to Spain Masterclass, and Yoly is a full-time mum. although of course Yoly is in the videos as well, so full-time.
And produce sometimes.
And produces the videos. So that kind of works, you know. What I do is my full-time job, gives me a lot of flexibility to be involved during the day as well, and not just, you know, when I get home from work. And I feel really grateful that Lucia will be able to be home longer than just like the 4 months that, you know, a lot of babies then go to kindergarten in Spain. So when will she go to kindergarten or preschool, or I don't even know what it's called. You know, we're discovering this as we go. And someone asked on Instagram, they said, well, what time do you go to bed? What time does Lucia go to bed? You know, there's this perception that Spain, that we're up all night eating dinner. It's true that we don't go out for dinner with her. If we were having dinner at 6 p.m., we might be able to, but she goes to bed about, well, the ritual starts at 7:30. She's kind of going to bed by about 8 p.m. But Yoly, is that normal?
So I think it is quite normal. What we're doing 8 p.m. She's more or less sound asleep on the cot. We have a few friends who are doing similar things, but it kind of is hard, right? You know, like when I put her to bed, I look at the window and I see all these people still with their babies sort of trying to get home, you know, because maybe they've been working until late and things like that. So I think it is challenging in Spain to figure it all out.
And a lot of you watching might be putting your babies to bed at about a similar time, 7:30, 8 p.m. But the fact is, if you're watching, say, in the States, for example, or the UK, you might be getting home from work at 5:30 p.m. But those people Yoly talks about that are outside the window walking past, they're getting home from work at maybe 7:30, 8 p.m. So their babies may go to bed later because they want to spend some time, right, with their children.
Fun fact, guys, in Spain traditionally, baby girls get their ears pierced very early on. And when I say very early on, I mean in the hospital. I mean, that's the way it used to be. Nowadays, usually parents will take their baby to the pharmacy and that's where they get it. But yeah, baby earrings, it's a huge thing, right? We decided not to do it because I kind of find it's a bit nuts. And so we're gonna wait until she wants to get her ears pierced, right?
Yep.
But it does mean though that when we get stopped in the street, for example, because she's so gorgeous, most people think that she is a he. So it's like, oh, qué bonito, or, you know, qué guapo.
We have to explain.
Sometimes I clarify. Actually, most of the times now, I don't actually clarify. Like,
Let it slide.
Who cares? Whatever. So a baby born in Spain isn't Spanish by default, right? So Lucia is Spanish because one of her parents, James, just kidding, me, I am Spanish. But if both parents are foreigners, then it depends on which country they're from. But generally speaking, a baby that is born of foreign parents, they need to spend a year in Spain to become a Spanish citizen.
But can Lucia be a New Zealand citizen as well as a Spanish citizen? Because I'd really like her to. You know, it would prevent silly situations like recently when we went back to New Zealand. Lucia was the only one who needed a visa waiver out of the three of us. Also, New Zealand, as you all know, will be like the place where all billionaires go to ride out the apocalypse. So I feel like it would be great for her to have that passport. Now, it's a little unclear if she can get it. New Zealand does allow dual citizenship with other countries. Spain only allows dual citizenship when there is an agreement with that other country, which there is not in the case of New Zealand. But it seems like, you know, this is Spain, there's a little gray area, maybe you can kind of wangle it in a way. So we're gonna give it a go and see if we can score the Kiwi passport for her as well. So what language or languages is Lucia going to speak, and how are we handling this whole process? Well, there's a few different ways, a number of different ways to bring up a bilingual child. In fact, I bought a whole book on the topic. The two kind of biggies, one is called One Environment, One Language, and the other one is called One Parent, One Language. So One Environment, One Language would be that you speak only one language at home, which obviously happens in a lot of places, but the language out in the world of the country you live in is a different language. To give you an example, here in Madrid, if we were going to do One Environment, One Language, Lucia is going to learn Spanish once she goes to preschool, school. She's going to be fluent in Spanish. She's going to live in Spain. She's a Spaniard, right? And so that would mean Yoly and I would only speak to her in English at home. That would be the approach there. And so really reinforce that minority language so that she gets it really strong, so that once she goes and learns Spanish, she really is bilingual. We didn't go with that approach. We went with another approach, the one parent, one language. And what that is a slight change. I speak to her in English and Yoly speaks to her in Spanish, and our communal language, when Yoly and I are around her, we speak English together. And the reason we did this is that it was really important for Yoly to speak her native tongue, her mother tongue to her child. You know, it's really instinctual the way you, or instinctive, whichever one it is, that you speak to your child particularly. There's a lot of culture in the language you use and the games you play. So it was really important for Yoly to speak Spanish and not English with her.
You may be aware that we Spaniards are crazy about other people's children, and there is two sides to this, right? The positive is that they're always welcome in bars / restaurants.
That's a big positive for me.
And you know, like, they're not only welcome, they're actually celebrated, right? So the waiters...
They're allowed to make a lot of noise and nobody cares.
Exactly. The waiters will be very attentive and they will get like preferential treatment, little treats, lots of compliments in the street as well. In public transport, for example, people will give up their seat at the moment they see you carrying a baby. So that's really great. The negative, though, lots and lots of unsolicited parenting advice. In the street, everywhere you go.
And it's not just like, from family, right? It's from strangers.
No, like strangers. You know, they will stop you. You're like waiting to cross at a traffic light and they will stop you and tell you how your baby is cold because they're not wearing shoes, you know? Yeah. I find that quite annoying, and a lot of mothers find it very, very annoying.
So Giles Tremlett's quote about your kids being public property in Spain, I like to think of it in the context of it takes a village to raise a child. So that community element that people feel like they they can pass on comments. If I'm feeling generous, that's how that's how I feel about it. But I've suggested to Yoly that when she gets those comments, those critiques in the street, because it's just Yoly that gets them. I don't get them. Fathers don't get them. It's just the mothers.
So annoying.
So when she gets those, I feel like she should just, return the compliment, return the favor, return the helpful advice and say to them, something like, are you sure that coat goes with those pants? Yoly hasn't done that yet, right?
No, I'm building up courage.
Yeah. Okay, quick heads up while I've got you. In about a week, I'm going to be opening up sign-ups for our Move to Spain Masterclass. This is the 8-week program, 8-week online course run by me that will give you the tools, the knowledge, and the roadmap to successfully move to Spain and set up your ideal life here. So if you want to be in the know, if you want to get notified when I open up for sign-ups, click the link below and you'll get an email once things open up. I hope to see you there.